I like the word intelligence because it's a saying that Marcus Garvey said back in the 1920s. He said, "Intelligence shall rule the world, and ignorance will bear its burden." And I believe that rings a lot of truth. And intelligence to me means knowledge. Like we have the Central Intelligence Agency. That's the acronym for Central Intelligence Agency is CIA. So when you say CIA, you're talking about Central Intelligence, which means knowledge, information. So to me, intelligence means like knowledge. It means intelligence. When you know something, and when we look at know, we look at knowledge, and when we break the word knowledge down, we see it has two definitions, like know, edge. So when you know something, you have the edge on someone who does not know. So I like to look at the word knowledge like that, when we break the word knowledge down. So it means to me, knowledge, acquisition of information, which is knowledge. The difference between intelligence and ignorance is strikingly stark. When we say ignorant, a lot of people have a tendency to think, oh, he's stupid or he's dumb, but really it's not. When you're just ignorant of something, you just don't know. We're all ignorant to a certain point, we're all ignorant. So when you say we're ignorant, that means we just don't know something. I'm not savvy with the technology. So some things I might have to ask someone else like you. I might have to ask you, hey, what does this mean? How do you work this? That means I'm ignorant to the particular technology. That's just an example. If someone knows how to work on cars and someone don't know how to, whoever don't know how to work on cars, he's just ignorant on how to fix cars. While someone who does know how to work on cars, he's intelligent. He knows how to fix cars. So it's a stark contrast between intelligence and ignorance. If you don't study, you won't know. If you don't put your attention, if you don't put your attention into something, you won't know. You can talk about something all day long, but if you haven't put any attention to it or put any study into it, then you don't know. But when you put study and hard work into something, then that's when you get the intelligence that you're studying, whatever it may be. Now, a lot of people are ignorant, like I was. I was ignorant. I didn't know my constitutional rights, and mainly because I didn't study. I don't know about now, but when I was coming up in grade school, you had to pass the United States Constitution to excel to the high school. You couldn't go to high school if you didn't pass the Constitution. I don't know what the curriculum is now, but back when I was going to grade school, if you didn't pass that Constitution, you would be held back until you passed it to go to high school. And I thought it was, the Constitution, so what? I was thinking, it wasn't important or anything like that. So I didn't study, I eventually got it because I went to high school, but I had to go to summer school to get it. I had to go to summer school to learn it. And I figured it out. I said, well, hey, they're not going to let me proceed to high school if I don't learn, which is the intelligence part of the Constitution. And it was heartbreaking later on in my life, because when I had a confrontation with the police, I didn't know my rights. I didn't know my constitutional rights. I didn't know my civil rights. And therefore, I ended up getting caught up in a system, the criminal justice system, and ended up doing 30 years of imprisonment because I didn't know my constitutional rights. Now, my situation is, had I known my constitutional rights, I probably would have undergone or would not have done that 30 years of incarceration had I known, if I had the intelligence of my constitutional rights. Because they violated various constitutional rights of mine, but by me not knowing the Constitution, I just went along. That's why they call it, I was sent up the river. I was sent up the river. And when you're sent up the river on certain things, that means, you just don't know certain things, And I always say that when you don't know something, it's just heartbreaking, because it can be detrimental, it can be deleterious in your life later on, you see. So that's how I look at the relevance or the importance of the intelligence of knowing your constitutional right, because it could be advantageous to you down the line.